Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's session. Today, we're going to be talking with Autumn. Autumn is dedicated to spreading cultural awareness, diversity around the world through intercultural learning. So, he's got a very unique take on teaching. She works with Outschool. Let's give her a chance to introduce herself. So, hello, Autumn. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
Uh, Doing great, doing
Thank you for
great.
having me. I'm super, super excited to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun conversation because
Hello. My
uh,
name is. Oh yeah, I
go
think
ahead, go ahead.
laggy.
We got a little lag, but that's okay. Go ahead. Let's if you could introduce yourself.
It's okay. Well, hello. My name is Autumn. I am a virtual online history teacher. I specialize in diversity and inclusion classes, African American history, African American current events. I teach I guess, individually on Outschool, and I also teach through an academy that I created on Outschool as well. We also offer classes off of Outschool as well through our website. And I've been teaching history since maybe 2019. I did ESL online for a couple of years. Pandemic hit. Some political stuff in Asia. I'm sure you remember that. And kind of hit the fan for me personally. So I kind of said, I don't want to stop teaching, but I want to teach something that I really, really, really enjoy, which has always been history. So here I am, and I love it more than ever.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, you said you got your start teaching. Was it teaching in a classroom first, or did you start with online stuff?
No, I actually started with online because I was a single mom and really expensive in the US. And I just was looking for some extra money. I've always loved kids. And I taught on various like ESL sites, VIP Kid, GoGo Kid. I think I did Magic Ears for a little bit. I really liked them, but the times were super hard for me.
Right.
But I loved the flexibility. I loved the fact, and I was so inspired by teachers who like did it full time and they had all this flexibility and all this time with their kids. And I've taught in person in Spain. I did that last year for a year where I taught English in Spain for a year. So those are kind of my two, I guess you could say, my two fortes.
Neat. Yeah, I got my start with VIP Kit as well. It was great while it lasted, I have to admit.
Yeah.
But it was better when I traveled to Asia, and I know that you've done some traveling yourself and changing up time zones. How does that work with your teaching?
It's so hard, but I think sticking with, my home time zone, which is Eastern because I'm from Washington, D.C., definitely helps a lot because I have my schedule done that way. A lot of my students now are US based. I do have a lot of international kids, except they're more based in Australia. So I can kind of work it out in like different ends of the spectrum. But really, just kind of keeping it Eastern really helps me. So if I have students maybe who are in different time zones, I just always, try to keep it as Eastern as possible because it helps me not, be all over the place where I'm teaching continuously.
Yeah, that could be a headache trying to figure out this time zone, that time zone, the other time zone, and get your schedule just right. Um, and I love talking to teachers who are made that break from China. Because there are a lot of students, yes, you can teach in China, but there's a lot of students all around the world. How do you find your students? How do you retain them? I mean, what's your strategy?
So I'm a big believer in the fact that there's somebody for everybody, right? There's a teaching style for everybody, and I think Outschool is a great resource and platform for the fact that you can really one try different teachers, but it kind of gives you more of a flexibility to like try teachers out, I guess you can say. A lot of my students are regulars. A lot of Outschool teachers that I talk to, they always have, an influx of new students coming in, constantly all the time, kind of switching out. It's a little different for me. I get a big influx kind of like in the beginning of the year because I set my classes on like a year long or semester long schedule. Really get that influx of new often. But my goal is to really just make a lasting impression. And I really build relationships with them having longer classes. So ultimately, we form that relationship, that trust, that safe space. I teach a lot of really hard topics. And it's really important for me for the kids to just feel safe learning those types of things. And in my opinion, once they really feel safe enough to learn those things in a great environment with somebody they know, is there for them if they need to talk about certain things, just has a lasting impression. So a lot of my students I've had for literally years, and I've just grown with them, and I get a lot of like referrals. So that's kind of more where my student base comes in. And a lot of my private classes are from, when I taught in person in Spain. So things like that.
That's
I
really
don't do too much
cool.
marketing.
What's the age range for your students then? Because you said your concept is
Um,
a little high.
Yeah, I when I started, I don't know. I think initially a lot of I don't know, at least for me, I was kind of nervous about the older kids. And when I first started Outschool, because I loved the little kids on VIP Kid and ESL, so I kind of just stuck with that. But then as I started, teaching more, because I like teaching like the hard stuff. I like teaching stuff that they wouldn't learn in school. So unfortunately, that usually means that I'm teaching stuff that's probably not age appropriate for the students that I used to teach. But I really, really enjoy the older kids now. So I do have a range of classes, but for the most part, they're centered around like upper elementary, middle school, early high school.
Okay, very cool. And so a little bit about your teaching specialties. So where did you learn to teach this way? Did you just kind of grow into it?
Um, yeah, actually, I kind of just really act like myself. I'm like a big talker in general, and if I talk, I like to always like reference different stories. And growing up, I was not a big fan of school, but history always left a lasting impression on me. And I noticed that the reason I retained it so well was because it was kind of like, it was like a story. It's like really good gossip, right? So I love like documentaries. I love visuals. I love, when the person teaching me this information is really like animated and into it, where it really feels like you're, just engulfed in this story where you can see it happening all around you. And I love like films and movies and learning through that. So I think it just, kind of came through just basically how I retain information the best.
Excellent. Yeah, history was always one of my favorites growing up as well. Um, so yeah, because you're right. It is like it's a story, and you can follow it, and then you can dive deeper yourself if you need to, because your teachers can only show you so much. So
Yes, exactly. Yeah, which I think is even I think it's more fun, right? It's like uncovering different secrets and it's a scavenger hunt. Like I've always learned this in school. Well, you start thinking about it. Well, what happened to them after that? Why was she even there in the first place? So it's just really fun.
definitely, yeah. So and so now, what do you like the most about online teaching?
I love the flexibility. I travel full time too, so I love the fact that I can take my kids with me. A lot of my really big regulars, they love the fact that I travel full time because every time they talk to me, they're like, "Where are you? Where are you now? Where are you now?" If I tell them I'm leaving, they like to get a virtual tour of, the surroundings. I'll, show them pictures. So I think that's like the biggest plus. Also, when I was a single mom, I just, corporate America was just not for me. Just there was no flexibility. I had both my kids. I just always felt like I had to pick between, working or being a mom. It was just always really, really hard. So I love the fact that one, I love what I do, and two, I can just take it with me wherever. So that's huge in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I love traveling and teaching. so many different places, and yes, you can share that with your students as well. Where's the coolest place that you've taught from?
Let's see. I'd want to say coolest place I've taught from. Usually it wasn't by choice. I always try to be home or like in my Airbnb and set up, but as you know, traveling full time, it doesn't always end up that way. I've taught in taxis before. I've taught on the
Wow.
beach. I've and airports, on trains and charter buses.
Wow, some
So
interesting ones.
I
Yeah.
don't yeah, I'm definitely a I'll teach wherever I am type of teacher for sure.
I
Just
I get it. I get it. Yeah, traveling full time is sometimes you got to be a little flexible. You never know. You try to schedule it. You try to say I'm going to be home for that. I try to do everything on the computer, but we travel with an iPad just in case. We
uh
got the
yeah,
SIM cards
exactly.
just in case. So
Yep, exactly. So it's all about preparation when you're a traveling teacher. It's just, yeah, they need to have a reality show on it because I think some people would be quite entertained by what we go through.
yes, that would be a really interesting reality show, actually. Yeah, Amazing Race with teachers, with online teachers or something.
Yeah, literally.
So where are you
Love
home
it.
based somewhere right now, or are you just traveling full time right now?
So I'm originally from Northern Virginia area, Washington, D.C. area. So that's like our home base. We usually stay there from like June to late fall. So we really do all of our traveling like past the holidays into spring. Kind of just depends. We're kind of flexible, but summertime is my kids' time with their, other side of their family. So they kind of go with them and we get to enjoy all the American food again and all that
Nice.
good stuff. So yeah, really like a long summer. We're usually back in the States.
Excellent. Right. So what advice would you give to someone who's looking to get into this lifestyle, teaching online, traveling, the whole thing?
Ah, you just got to rip the band-aid off and be really brave. I've gone everywhere, like by myself. And when I look back on it, even myself, like I'm the one that did it, I get a sense of like nervousness and anxiety, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, I went that far alone, with my kids. But it's normal to be completely nervous. It's normal to think it's crazy because it is, but it's a good crazy. And just kind of forcing yourself, right? Just putting yourself out there, really just taking that leap, and you just will not regret it. But it definitely takes you forcing yourself, and I'm sure you can agree to that. Anything that's like out of the norm, initially, it's scary, and that's completely normal. So I think just really jumping, ripping the band-aid off, getting it over with, and then it's just smooth sailing for the most part.
I totally understand how that whole process goes. Now, how was it starting with Outschool? Like application process? Were you nervous? Did you have a mentor? How's that all go?
uh, I did not have a mentor, but I did it with a friend who also taught on VIP Kids. So we were kind of in the same realm where stuff hit the fan. We're like, we've heard a lot of teachers having success on here. Let's give it a shot. So we kind of just did it together. We didn't have any issues with the application. It seemed pretty straightforward. I think it was really hard just kind of getting like your rhythm and not kind of falling into the trap of trying to follow like what other teachers do, especially if, maybe they're like an influencer or they're kind of telling you about their success. Depending on what you teach, the way they teach or the type of classes they offer or the frequency that they offer them, it might just not work good for your niche. It might not work good for the types of classes that you want to do. So I think just being really aware of one, what you want to teach, really niching down because Outschool does have tons and tons of teachers now. But if you're specific enough, you'll be successful, in my opinion. So just really niching
You've
down,
got
picking what you guys, want. Oh, uh-huh.
you've got a niche, that's for sure. I don't. I mean, your niche is a little bit different and very fine tuned, so that's really good. It's just like with anything you do. I think a
Yes.
niche is really important.
Oh, 100%.
Looks like we lost you here, Autumn.
I just noticed that I just wasn't, sometimes you just feel like there's something missing. I wasn't different enough. That's what I was getting at. You do research about your competition, you're kind of seeing what everybody's offering, and I'm looking online. I'm like, okay, there's 12 classes on Rosa Parks. The only difference between mine and theirs is, maybe we make a bus or, it just wasn't different enough. And that's really where I niche down. I'm like, well, what do I really, really like that's like super different than everything else? And it's like, it's the hard stuff, right? It's the stuff that maybe people are not comfortable teaching their kids. You have a huge knowledge in that. So, and I actually just recently niched down, maybe like just a year ago. So ever since I did that, it's been a lot better. And I actually enjoy it a lot more.
It's really important to enjoy what you do. I totally agree. Uh, so since we're on that concept of your niching down, tell me more about this Culture Corner Academy.
Okay, Culture Corner Academy is an academy, online academy. I hope to the goal is to actually make it physical micro school. My son wants to go to high school in person, so we have plans to kind of settle down back in my hometown. So the goal is to kind of offer it physically um, in my hometown. But the idea of Culture Corner is that I wanted to give kids access to Black history all the time.
Mhm.
So, not just in February, not just, Martin Luther King's birthday, just, typical school. I was in the public school sector. We always just learned about the same things every year in a different way. And the goal is to just make it year long class, basically, and access to a class. So I have a few that were more semester long. But my new series, I guess you could say, I'm offering classes for third to eighth grade, African American history for the full year. And they're each different, which is really also unique because so they can, move up with the program. And they each examine Black history from different perspectives while also learning about like the bigger picture. So they'll still learn about things that they would probably learn about in school, except we're basically diving a lot deeper. For example, my third grade class, which already has 4 students, so I'm super excited. I'm expecting this one to be a big one. They're going to be learning about African American culture, but they're going to be learning about the references and where that culture has kind of come from and grown, and what parts have even come from West African cultures and how that has developed in the United States into the African American culture that we see today. So that's, a really, really unique class that they would definitely not learn about in school. And, a lot of the things that they'll learn, they might even just notice it, in real life during certain maybe holidays, maybe if they meet new friends, things like that. So, and my promo is actually a 250 coupon off of that class. So I will give
Ah,
you the coupon.
it's awesome. I might actually put my kid in that class. That sounds awesome.
Oh, nice. We'll love that.
Yeah, well, because I like the idea because I grew up in the South in Virginia, and well, American history was taught not necessarily accurately, and I didn't at the time. So we had to learn as we grew older. We had to do our own deep dive to find out, oh, what really happened type situation. And so what you're doing, having this available to kids at a younger age, sounds amazing to me. No matter what the school's doing, if the parents want the kid to have that kind of knowledge, they can showcase your type of lesson, which is amazing.
Yep,
So,
exactly. And I think that they, a lot of what they learn in school also has a lot of, I guess you could say, African American history intertwined in all of those different stages of American history. I mean, you really could really teach them like right next to each other. But I'm sure with like time, and I'm sure the narratives changed over the years. So it's just definitely a unique opportunity to be able to do that. And yeah, I definitely agree with you on the learning, kind of like we had to like relearn history. I don't know about you, but I kind of felt like, well, why did they tell me that?
Oh,
you
I've
know,
had so many conversations with friends and family after the fact, like because I moved to Central America after that to like Chicago and stuff, and I learned that it wasn't called Lee Jackson King Day for everybody else in the world. Only in Virginia. Only in Virginia. So thankfully
of
they've
course,
corrected that nowadays and they and everything, but still. When I learned that that was one thing, I was like, oh, what else was different? What else should I relearn? Type situation.
yeah.
So,
And
but that's
and I
neat.
think we learned. Oh, sorry. And I think when we learn that way, I think it we definitely have like a perspective on, certain things. In my opinion, it's good just to know the good, the bad, the ugly, because that's what it is, right? History. And I think it's a little disheartening to maybe when we hear like a specific narrative all the time, and then when we kind of reteach ourselves, and it's kind of like a sense of disappointment, maybe.
Yeah.
And I always feel like if I just learned the original way, I wouldn't feel that, because I don't want to feel, a disappointment, in my country or about my country, about my country's history. I just want to be proud of it because I know it. So I think it's kind of trying to kind of heal from that. It's definitely kind of like a trauma, in my opinion.
Yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, there's the good, the bad, the ugly. You take it all in and figure out what the truth is. I love that, and that's it. And that's seems to be what your type of curriculum is focused on. How did you decide to make this type of a curriculum based on histories?
Really, to be honest, because it's just something I think I would want. And a lot of it, well, I guess it kind of stemmed from there was a lot of controversy about AP African American History course. And it kind of got me thinking, because that's I guess a higher level course, right, for seniors, juniors. And I'm kind of like, well, that's real to me. That was really cool that maybe kids can be offered something year round like that. And it just kind of got me thinking, like, well, that'd be really cool if all kids could, all ages could have some type of access to that, because I think a lot of that curriculum is a lot of information. And to be honest, I think it could have really been split up, throughout the grades, because it is a lot of information. So I think maybe slowly learning it and all the time would just, kind of help to create give our kids, just a more multicultural historical foundation. And I think it would be really cool if people could offer this of all types of histories. I would love for my kids to do something that I'm doing on like Asian American history, Eurocentric American history, Indigenous history. I would absolutely love it, because U.S. history is so much more than the narrative that we were given as kids. So
Because
much more.
unfortunately, in school they only have so much time that they can focus on
Yeah.
things, and I get that. So like, yeah, you don't get to go into your Chinese American history and how all that played into where they are now, or Jewish American
Mm-hmm.
history or Irish American history, and all the horrors and the good stuff came through it all,
Yep.
or came of
Yep.
it
And
all.
I love that. And they also had to deal with, oppression. And I just think it's so important that um kids kind of see like all aspects of it. I always wish I was more versatile, but unfortunately I'm not.
Hey,
But I think
you
it would be
do
really cool
you.
to be able to offer all. Yeah.
You do you. You do your
But it does seem
specialty.
like
Let
it's
someone else
a
do their
up and
specialty.
coming. Exactly. And I do think it's up and coming. I've even seen on Outschool more like specific group-based history. So I do think it's a new wave, which is really exciting.
I think that's one of the benefits of online education, and allowing it to be an extracurricular, or something for students, because parents can say, okay, I want my student or my child to experience this or learn about this. So let's find this course, and it's not that expensive. So my kid can have this little thing on the weekends, or whatever it might be. So it's really cool.
Yep, exactly. Love it.
What, in your opinion, what are the best things about teaching online with your own custom made materials and curriculum?
Just no rules. You can go off grid. You can, and it's more student based, in my opinion, when you use your own curriculum, right? Because at least a lot of my kids, especially history, they want to know more. Well, kind of like what you said, well, what happened there? Maybe we don't have enough time to go there, but because we're using our own curriculum, right? We can kind of veer off whenever we want. Um, and so on and so forth. So I think just having more control over your classroom ultimately, and then what your kids are learning. I think that's huge, especially when you kind of have to follow curriculum, and especially if it's very like watched, I guess, or measured, right? I mean, you really don't have time. You really can't veer off, and to me, it's a disadvantage to the students because there's definitely other aspects of learning other than what's being measured on a test.
Sure, yeah. There's several different ways people have taught. You taught from some of the online schools that they monitor you. They give you the material of your own. Now you've done your own material, that type of thing. And you said like, even in Spain, you said you've taught in-person courses and stuff like that. So, what would you say are the benefits to each, or the disadvantages to each?
I think the disadvantage for using your own is that it's a lot of work behind it, right? I mean, it's a lot of, extra research. You can't just grab the worksheet from, like the ebook and print it out. You got to make your worksheet, which also is probably more geared to what you already know your students have retained. So it's just kind of like extra steps. I think in person, specifically in Spain, it's really, you can't really control the material that you're teaching. For example, the material and the curriculum I used in Spain was British English. So obviously, I speak American English. There are a few words and a few phrases that they say completely different than I do naturally. One example was, and all my kids got this wrong on the test. So I had to go and explain, like, I don't say it like that. I told them that's how you say it. And British English, they say I'm going to have a shower. But in American English, I think we say we're going to take a shower.
Yeah.
That's completely different. So everybody got that wrong. And I definitely had to explain myself, but not my fault. So I think that's the harder part is, you really have to be uh and really follow, the guidelines. So I definitely like using my own curriculum.
I totally agree. What would you you mentioned that the disadvantage to making your own is taking time and taking research. And how long does it take you to make a lesson?
uh so long. To be honest, I mean, it's so long. I want to say this series I completed, it's probably taken me like 10 months so far. And I do it really just in my free time. Because I teach like 9 to 5. So I mean, I teach throughout the day. So I really just work on it on the weekends when my kids are sleeping. I mean, constantly. If I'm working on it, it's usually 3 hour periods, and then I'll give myself a break. But yeah, it's long. But the benefit is once you finish it, then it's a good resource, especially if you have everything organized. That's also a tip I would give somebody. When you're making it, just go really slow, right? And have it organized. So that way, when you teach it again, it's a lot easier, and more worth your time.
I agree. Making lessons is time consuming. And how many lessons are in your series right now?
Right now, they're meeting twice a week for 12 weeks each semester. So 48, maybe.
Maybe 48. Wow, good. That's a lot of lessons.
Yeah.
It took you
Yeah,
10
yeah.
months. That's
So
really cool.
grades 3 to 8. So I mean, it's taken me forever.
Yeah.
And then I'm offering a flex version of it. So the self-paced version is on the platform that I told you about earlier. So that, I have to kind of put that in there. So it's all, it takes a long time. That
Yeah,
part's not done
definitely.
yet, but uh
I get it. Well, what tips do you have for creating custom program for teaching? If somebody wants to get into this and try to do something that they're
uh
knowledgeable about.
I think just really coming up with like like a template, I guess you could say. And just being able to just change, the different fields. I used to not do that, and it used to take me a lot longer because, a lot of my time was taken like reorganizing stuff and, putting it in places. So now I just have, like different templates, especially in like my planner, and then I can just kind of, copy paste, or just fill in the blanks where I need to. Especially like my slides. I also think I've gotten a lot of feedback from students where they like the fact that my slides look the same when I use slides, and the information's different, so it's not too much going on at one time. So I think kind of just picking a template, sticking with it, and then changing as needed.
Totally agree with that. Yeah. Templates are good. Whether you make your own, whether you get something from somebody else, modify it to make it your own, but you want it to be able to work for
Mm-hmm.
you. And it saves you time because
Oh yeah,
it's not
yep.
necessarily cookie cutter, but it does save you time because you have all these different slides you can play with and work with.
Yeah, and Canva's great for that. I personally use Canva. So
I use Canva for tons of images, some of the slide stuff, but Genially, then we start with PowerPoint and Google Slides. I mean, yeah. So there's so many different tools out there for people. What are
yes,
your
tons.
favorite
So
tools
yeah,
besides Canva?
I love Genially. Is it Genially? Genially? I
Genially, I
don't.
think.
I actually don't know how to pronounce it. Genially. I learned about it working in Spain because it's a big program over here that they use to teach.
For
So
their
I
headquarters.
kind of Oh yeah, I love, and there was a template on there that actually inspired my platform. You probably did you ever see the Halloween one where they knock on the different doors and answer questions? So that template actually inspired me to make, I guess you could say, like certain classes. I have like a holiday class on there that's really cool. Oh, I could show you guys that one. That one's really, really cool. I'm actually super proud of that one. But that's like my favorite platform ever. I love it.
Nice. Yeah.
I will not.
It's so easy to use, and they've been adding so many features lately that I love now that you can do reveal and hide it again now. They first had the reveal
Oh,
come
I
out,
didn't
you
know
forget
that.
to reveal, but now, like just recently, I think in the last couple of weeks, I noticed where I can click a button to say it'll hide it again afterwards. So that's even cooler.
See, that's what I need. I love that. I love it.
So before we get into like seeing some of your stuff, um, what tips do you have for teaching online while traveling?
Ah, internet. Internet. I would say do not be shy about asking for internet speeds. I'm very, very serious about that, especially with like private hosts. I always ask for a screenshot. I always 100%. And I'm pretty adamant that I always review, and I like everything to be as I'm told. And if it's not as fast, that's fine. I'll just find somewhere else. But internet's a big one because that's like your whole business. Everything. You can't do anything without internet. I always do get SIM cards for backup, but as depending on where you are, it just depends. And sometimes it might just not be a good backup. So a good computer. I would also say backup chargers. I don't know if this has happened to you, but my chargers have not worked, or the computer shut off, and then I'm completely, stuck if I'm in like a remote area. I can't just go run to Walmart and go get another charger. And
Thankfully, I
usually I
travel
have
with
a Mac.
oh, okay. Well,
Oh,
thankfully,
do
I
you have an
travel
extra?
with my wife and my son, and we all have computers now. So if something happens to mine, I'll just flip over to one of theirs because I just
See, that's
in case.
perfect. I've actually thought because we're going to do Asia next year. I've played around with the idea of maybe getting an extra one just to have like a backup, but it makes me nervous because you never know. Sometimes I've dropped my backpack before. I don't know if my computer broke, so there's just too many what ifs, and you're too far to really like replace it either in a timely fashion, or you're going to pay tons of money. In Europe, like the Apple products are so much more expensive here. My charger broke and I had to pay, I think it was like 120 euros for a new one. And I looked on Amazon and there's a generic one that I could have got for like 20 bucks. So stuff like that. Definitely backup charger, backup computer stuff, backup headphones if you can, even if they're like the buds. But yeah, internet and equipment.
On an internet. Yes, very cool. All right, so let's take a look at some of your stuff. Let's show people what it looks like and how they
Yes.
can use it. Uh,
Okay, let's see. Hold on. Oh, I got it. I did get it to work. So this is the platform for all of the um oh, hold on. For all of the flex classes. So any flex class that they would
Not seeing
take
the
with
screen
me
yet.
or oh, hold on. Here we go. Oh, can you see it now?
Yep, there we go.
Okay, so this is the platform that they would use for any flex class with me. So the only difference would be, what the specific class is. This is a book study that I'm doing this year. And then the kids just enter, and basically they're in like a virtual school. I call it Justice High. So they come in. This is supposed to be like my office. And then they click here for like any, just kind of like, I guess you could say housekeeping rules about how to, work Outschool platform, what to expect, things like that. And then they're in the virtual school, and basically I give them this link and they have access to every single lesson in the entire class. So they can work at their complete own pace. And I purposely don't give them a map to the school because they like to explore on their own. So for
Cool.
example, this would be like week one, and then you have all of your tasks that you would do every day. The book studies are a little bit longer because they use journal entries. But I encourage them to start from one and go to the last number. I also love to use Padlet. That's also a resource I like to use. And they do Padlet every week where they do like a check-in. I might just have like a warm-up video, but every assignment that they would do is in these numbers. So they'll have their journal reflection, they'll have their extension activity, and information on where they can post their, I guess you could say their lessons. But it's a whole school. So you go through each
I
door
love your
and you
design here.
have
This is a really cool way of doing it.
yep, they have a whole school. You can week 4, go back, and I just have them kind of play around, and each classroom looks different too, which I really think is fun.
That's neat.
But I'm not done. This is the coolest part. I'm telling you, I'm super proud about this thing. As you see, there's lockers.
Lots of
Pick a
lockers.
locker,
Yeah.
and then they can decorate their own
Ah,
locker. And then they can, drag and drop, and then I have them basically screenshot their final product in the Outschool classroom so they can kind of talk to each other like, oh, yours looks cool, mine looks cool. So all they have to do is screenshot to save their design, and then they can keep decorating it as much as they want.
that's awesome.
Let's see, I think they're, hold on, I know there's one more feature. Okay, so this is
Library.
library, and then so we're the Justice High Jaguars. So you'll see, a couple
Yeah.
references. Okay, hold on. Here we go. Oh, that's what it is. Think this way. See, I don't even know how to get through my own thing. So cafeteria. which I love. This is week 8. So they have the Jaguar symbol, little school pride. This is also a little fun interactive activity. They can click here and then they can screenshot their own lunch trays.
Oh,
So, that'll be like an activity for, the week where I'll tell them to, do their own lunch trays and then they can drag and drop and make their own lunch trays. And I think I have one more feature that's unique from this. Oh, see, look, and I don't even have a back button to show you guys. Darn. I just noticed that. I need to add that. Hold on.
yeah.
Let's
Yeah, I know.
see.
I go through some of my lessons sometimes. I'm like, oh, if somebody had a back button or a
I'm like,
home button, that
darn.
might really help.
I know, right?
Sometimes you
Here,
forget
I'll
the
have
little
to.
things. Sometimes, yeah.
It's like a little. Well, my students get really. They're like, Teacher Adam, I can't get out of the room. Like, okay, it's okay. Just restart.
It's like an
It's
escape
working.
room.
But yeah, kind of. And the last feature is they can go to the gym. So I switch that out every week. And they can go to the gym and then they'll have a link to like a game, like through GimKit or Blookit, or like a fun game that I find online. Here we go. There it is. So they can go to the gym and then they can play the game of the week. So hit that and then they'll go to whatever game they're doing for the week.
Very cool.
But
And
yes,
I can see all the Canva
uh,
images and stuff. It's really nice.
oh, yep. And Canva is so easy. You just make it in Canva, put it in, and just put the buttons.
Yeah. Have you ever used like Edpuzzle or anything for some of the different types of learning?
I did. I used to do them for my flex classes. But I don't know. I just found it so kind of boring. I felt bad for the kids. It's like they were just kind of, listening. And to me, it's interactive, but I felt like, from the kids' perspective, it probably wasn't super exciting.
Well, I guess it really depends on the video and you're able to find and use because some history videos can be very boring. Some people find a way to make them very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe I might just need some more training on that one. But the ones I did, I'm like, oh, I just feel like they're kind of dry.
Well, do you have a special promotion? You mentioned it earlier that you might have something to.
Yes. So I have 250 off of any of the new series classes on Cultural Corner. So the full year Black History classes, 3rd grade through 8th grade. They're retailed at 450. So literally good chunk off. So 250 off of those classes, and they're they're registered in semesters. So we're gonna have fall semester and spring semester. So, but I expect it to be huge. I have a lot of interest in them already. I have 4 commitments for 3rd grade. I have 3 commitments for 8th grade already, and sporadic ones for the other grades. So I think it'll be a big hit because they don't start till September. So
For those
get
that
in
are
and take
interested, we'll have that
advantage.
link down below. So yeah, but that's
Yep, get in,
awesome.
take advantage, have fun with us.
Yes. And I kind of find a final note there. I was kind of curious. So you are a teacher on Outschool, but you also created an academy for Outschool. What's the difference?
So the academy, the pro for an academy is you're ultimately a business. Well, yeah, so you have to be a business to have an academy, to have an organization. But I'm able to hire teachers to basically teach my classes on that specific profile. So any classes that I have on that profile, I can hire qualified teachers and then they can teach those classes in my place. It's a huge pro because um, I'm kind of booked up with a lot of my personal classes, especially because I have a lot of regulars now. And a lot of like the popular times I might be teaching on, 6 kids that really want to do this class at 12 and I have a class at 12. I can just have one of my teachers teach it while I'm already teaching. So it's
Sweet.
nice.
That is really nice. Yeah. So you're basically building your own business with an academy and like expanding it. So that's really neat.
Yep. And again, that's like the plus because I guess it stinks when maybe you have a really popular class or you have a really nice class on like your personal page because you're kind of you're the one stuck teaching it unless you bring it over, but it takes away all your reviews and all your saves. So in my opinion, it's just kind of better to leave it there. But yeah, so I'm trying to transition maybe a little bit more to the academy, but we'll see.
Well, you definitely have an interesting story from start to your transition to where you are right now, traveling, teaching, exploring the world. Just sounds like a really cool life.
Oh yeah, I love it. I love it.
Well, thank you for
Enjoyed
taking
it.
some time to talk to us, to inspire some new people out here. And hopefully we can get more people access to some of your history lessons since you've done all the work. That then we have a chance to experience it as well. So that's awesome.
uh, yes, I would love to have you guys.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and I'm sure we'll be in touch, and some of these viewers will be in touch with you soon too. I'm sure.
Oh yes, I hope so. I'm always here.
All right. Well, take care for today, and yeah, we will see you online.
Okay, sounds good.